This video is going to review things, at least tools that you already know how to use in Photoshop, but just kind of having a different effect. So what I have here are two images overlaying each other. I have this crack in the sidewalk or parking lot, which is a very extreme close-up, and then I have this image of kind of a walkway deck area by the mobiles at East Campus. So both of them are kind of similar with the use of diagonal lines. So that was why I chose both of these images. What I want to do is actually create it to look like there's a crack. This crack is going to be running right through this pathway. This could do some kind of symbolism for a personal myth, but it actually makes for a cool looking image. So I'm going to lay this on top of the cracked image. I have two layers happening here. And I need to erase parts of this image so that what is below is actually showing through. So what I first need to do is make sure that these are lined up well enough. And that's kind of hard to do when, the opacity is pretty solid here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layer 1 and I'm going to lower my opacity a little bit just so I can see. And now I can see that this crack is, not really as diagonal as this pathway. So I need to rotate the crack a little bit. And in order to rotate an image or resize something, I have to transform it. So this is a locked layer. So I'm just going to click on that to hit OK to unlock it. And then I'm going to, with this selected, hit Command T, which is my free transform option. And we've done this before, but just as a review, my arrows, when I pull it to the corner, kind of curve around. So when I do that, I can rotate the image. Now what I'm noticing is if I do any kind of blending with this, I'm going to have some open areas where this image is kind of cut off. So I'm also going to resize the image and drag this bottom layer to make it bigger so it kind of covers this whole space. So I'm going to hit Alt and Shift and turn from the corner because I don't really want to distort the image so much. And I'm going to keep dragging it. Now, if I don't hold Shift and Alt, just so you can see what happens, as you can see, it kind of distorts a little bit. Maybe for this effect, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to let that distort. And what I mean by it didn't constrain the proportions is now this vertical image is a little bit more wide than it was. This is keeping it, and this is a little wider. But for this, it might work. I'm going to then make sure this is in line of where I want it. And oopsie, it's going to come over this corner. Okay, there we go. I'm going to double click to apply this crop or this transformation. And now I can see that my crack is kind of lined up a little bit more. Maybe move it just a bit to the edge there. Ooh, I like that. Okay. But now I need to make it show up more. I mean, it's kind of showing right now, but I really wanted to still maintain the textures of that top layer because see the texture of the bottom layer is coming through here. So I'm going to go back to my top layer and I am going to use a layer mask. Now, when we create an image adjustment, it creates a layer mask on top of that. And then when we use our black brush, it'll hide the change, and our white brush will show the change. So right now, it's saying that my layer is in full in there, and it is. I just turned the opacity down. So, and that was for the purpose of me to edit and see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is with this layer selected, and with my black brush up here, and the reason I have the opacity so I can see where this crack is. So I'm going to just paint. What I'm actually painting on is the deck image. I'm hiding parts of that deck image. And in essence, kind of erasing it away, but not in a sense, because I can always go back. I can flip back and, if I don't like something, kind of hide it a little bit. And I'll show you how that works. Oops. Flip this, and I'm going to turn my opacity back up, la 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 la, and there we go. But see, I'm like, oh shoot, this crack is happening on the sidewalk and I really only wanted it on the wood part. So I can click back on my layer mask, make sure I have my white showing, and voila, fixing the um, area that was showing through. So again, the black brush hides the change. So in essence, the black brush was erasing from this layer, and then the white layer is that layer. So that's how you can blend images together to maybe create some interesting composites. You can, and hopefully this video gave you some interesting ideas of how you can take some new approaches.